just on that, like the final thing that we wanted to call out, because there are a lot of other announcements, but the final thing, big piece of news is that the thing that did get launched is Super Mario Brothers All Stars. So the actual Super Nintendo game they've put on as part of Nintendo Switch Online, which also to me, you know how I was talking about, you know, maybe they'll bring on Mario 64 in a year or two onto Nintendo Switch Online. I feel like that sort of even makes me feel like even more that they might do something like that. So again, this is, you know, so this is the game where they've taken the Super Nintendo version where they've got Super Mario Brothers, Lost Levels, Mario 2, Mario 3, all NES, Famicom games. And then they've actually, like, this is one of the first remakes, really, isn't it? That I can think of.
Yeah, not counting games that were ported to other systems and had to change their graphics for various
Well,
reasons.
that's a port, though.
Because
This is not a
yeah,
port.
that's what I'm saying. Not counting that,
Mm.
this is the first time that I think we've seen like a classic game get a new cone of paint. That I can remember. There's probably outlier examples, but
Mm. Yeah, and it's certainly for me at least the biggest one that I can think of. Like in terms of like being one of the first ones. So yeah, it's interesting because we've experienced this really differently. I had all of these games on the NES, so not Lost Levels obviously because it didn't come out in Australia at the time. So I had 1, 2, and 3, and you know, I have said this that I think it's one of the best deals in gaming ever. The Mario All Stars, because these games are just incredibly good. But and this is not a hot take or anything, but I just don't think these are good versions of the game, to be honest.
Mario 2 is. Mario 2 is a great version. The other two, not so much. Although I've mentioned before that I do definitely. That's the first time I properly played through Mario 3, so I have less of a. I have probably more connection to that version than people that have played it the proper way. But I
Yeah,
think that is a great version of Mario 2. I really do think it is.
it's not a bad version. It's the thing I don't like is that they've changed the jump physics because Mario 1, 2, and 3 all have different jump physics, sort of just the way it feels and everything's different. And this they've used Super Mario World I think as the basis for the movement and the acceleration and jumps and things like that. And it just, I don't know, it never felt right ever since I played it since I was a kid. And also just the way it looks, it just doesn't look as iconic to me. And like even at the time, I was like, oh wow, this is cool, but it to me didn't look like Super Mario World, which I thought looked awesome, and it didn't look as good for some reason as the original NES games, personally. So yeah, I've never really liked Super Mario All Stars outside of it just being such an iconic compilation of games, and probably up there with things like Orange Box and things like that as being some of the most iconic compilations of games.
Well, yeah, that's just to drill home my point. I think Mario 2 is a much more improved version of the original in the All Stars collection. That game always felt on the NES version a little wonky, and I think the actual controls and just the graphics just way better in that version. I understand Mario 1 and Mario 3, the originals are probably the best way, but I think Mario 2 is the best way in All Stars
Oh,
myself.
fair enough. Yeah, I must admit, like I played Mario and Mario 3 stacks of times. Even recently, I played them through on Switch, like the NES versions of them. But Mario 2, I don't play as much, and even back in the day, I didn't beat it that many times. So yeah, that's an interesting point. I really can't even speak to that because I haven't played, the remake version in All Stars or the original version too many times. And yeah, I probably played Lost Levels the most with All Stars because this was the first time in Australia, at least, you could play All Stars. Sorry, Lost Levels. So I was always like, well, what is this? And then you die almost at the start with the poison mushroom. It's just like, what is this? This is just crazy.
It's awesome. It's awesome.
It was like I do like it from a troll perspective. But I can, certainly understand why people don't like this game.
It's
So
it's crazy that it was actually the sequel in Japan. It's insane. I love
it,
it.
it is really weird, like when you think about it, and I've read a lot about Miyamoto and Nintendo and sort of at the time and everything like that, and it actually had a big influence on the team. This game and Zelda 2. had a really, really big influence on Miyamoto and how he made games and just how they were received, because neither one was really received that well. And just, his perspectives on those games and what should and shouldn't happen. So yeah, but it's really cool. So it's available now. You can jump into Nintendo Switch Online, the Super Nintendo app, and you can play Super Mario All Stars, which they're all really cool versions of it. But obviously the original versions are already a part of the subscription.